After creation of organization units, let's focus on creation of resources which are required to perform the services. In this video, we'll talk about resources, resource categories, resource capacity, skills and certifications. Also, we'll set the work hours and holiday for the resources. Let's see things in demo, how it works. We can create resources from Copilot Service Admin Center. And also from Copilot Service Hub. So from either of the place you can create resources. Let's go back to Copilot Service Admin Center. Let's try a new resource. When we create a new resource, we have generic, contact, user, equipment, account, crew, facility, pool. All these are total 8 resource type options. Let's understand one by one what these are. Let's start with user type of resource. What is user type of resource? Basically, the internal resource mapped to Dynamics 365 user record, which is ultimately an enter ID user coming from your Active Directory. This is usually the main resource for scheduling services given by service provider to customers. For example, it can be any resource coming from your enter ID. When we define user resources, we also define characteristics, means skills and certifications. Skills can be heavy lifting, handling skills, crane handling skills, or English speaking. When it comes to certifications, it can be vendor specific certifications which are required to perform the services. A resource can have multiple skills and certifications. It is also important to understand what are resource categories. Resource category basically define a specific role a resource play in organization like technician, supervisor, developer, or tester. Let's go back to screen. Let's make a new user from here. Let me find by name. This is one of my Dynamics 365 user. Let me save it. When I save the resource, you can see that resource characteristics and resource categories are available to me. Let me define these. Let me create new one. French speaking is skill. Let me save this one. Rating can be any of these, maybe excellent, 7 close. So this user resource carry skill of French speaking, which is excellent. We can also add existing skills from here, or we can create new certification. Developer. A certification. So this way you can attach skills and certification to resources. We have also option of resource categories. We already have few categories defined. We can add more categories from here. You can see that for each resource we can have multiple skills, multiple certification, and they can also attach to multiple resource categories. Now let's move to scheduling tab. Here we see start location and end location. Let's understand these options. Start location means where the resource begin the day. End location means where resource end the day. And all these three options, location agnostic, resource address, and organization unit address. So we already have defined organization unit where we have mentioned longitude and latitude. If we use this option, it means resource will use the same latitude and longitude as the organization. In this case, it refers to latitude and longitude of the records resource type, means longitude and latitude of the user resource. And this option is no particular location is specified. Basically, in case of Dynamics 365 customer service scheduling, most employees start and end their day at organization unit address unless they work out in the field like field service. So first two options are not very relevant in case of customer service scheduling, but when you use the field service, then all three options are more relevant. So I am choosing this option as of now. We also have few other options which control whether the resource appear on the scheduling board, which we are going to use in the last step of the scheduling of resources. Also, this option controls whether resource is considered when system search for the available time slots. We see impact of all these options during the booking of the resources in Calendar. Let's save this. Now move to next tab, work hours. So when you have to define work hours, we have three options here. When I choose working hours, so I can define working hours of the particular user from the screen. Day, repeat, every day, every week, and custom. So you can try various options from here. Let's do it for Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5. And I want to add some breaks. So as per this working hours, Monday to Friday, we have time from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with half an hour break for the lunch. We also have option here, observe business closure. We talk about this option later on. We also have to set the time zone of the user very carefully. Let's save this one. In future, you want to modify further, it is possible. There are three options. It means this option change only the particular day and all following events, all even in the series with their past or future one. It opens the same screen. Let's see this capacity option. By default capacity is 1, but we can change from this to some other number as well. Let's say capacity 2. So what basically is capacity? We see the real impact of capacity in our example when we allocate resources to service activity. Let me explain to you right now how it works basically. As per this screen, this particular resource Karen, which is user, has capacity of 2. It means he can do one top job which required effort level 2. Because when we define services, we also define the effort level required. He can do one top job with effort equal to 2, or he can do two parallel jobs with effort equal to 1 each. We see the real impact of this when we allocate resources to service activity in our last step. Let's save and close. Go to service scheduling, business closure. Business closure means particular day or time when organization is not offering the services. Maybe all day event or maybe for multiple days. During the closure, resource cannot be scheduled. However, resource with the do not observe option can be scheduled. So we have from 8th to 11th holiday for New Year, means whole organization is not offering service to customer on these particular days. If we go back to our resources, if we want, we can also set this option from here. We also have the option here, time off. If this particular resource need particular day time off for multiple days or single day, we can define from here. So it means this particular user is not available on these days. It's kind of leave for him. You can see the calendar of the resource. So here we just created a resource or user type. Now let's talk about other kind of users. We also have content type of resource and account type of resource. We have defined this kind of resources when customer itself is required in a service activity. In general, when you offer service activity, the users from the service organization participate in the service and customer avail the service. But sometimes when customer is also part of delivering service, at that time we require content and account kind of resources. For example, a software company conduct in-house training. At that time, although trainer is coming from side of service provider, but participant from the customer side. So use of content and account resource is rare, but functionality is available in system. We have generic type of resource is a kind of placeholder resource. It's not a real person or real asset. It is very useful when you do early service setup. So when you actually execute the service, at that time you replace a generic resource with a real resource. Let's see on screen now. Like we have, this is one of the resource or content type. It is one of the resource of account type. And we have defined a generic resource. A name is generic any junior engineer. Please notice that when we define generic resource, it's important to define category of resource. Reason being, source category is common link between generic resource and real resource at time of actual assignment. Now let's move to pool. The source pool allow you to assemble group of similar resources to manage capacity and give scheduler the option to assign specific resource or resources at later time. In startup project, you can mention that we need 5 developers, 5 programmers, but you're not sure of exact allocation timings, dates, and the person name. In those scenarios, you can use pool. At time of execution, real people from the pool assigned to service activity. So we have defined a mechanics pool over here, which is type of user, and from here, resource children, we can add people in the pool. Now we come to crew. Crew usually represent a team of real resources or mixed kind that work together as one unit. For example, flight crew. Crew is booked as one resource. If in flight crew we have 4 people, pilot, co-pilot, attendant and cleaner. So all 4 are booked as one resource. So all member must be available for allocation. If one member is not available, the crew cannot be booked. You can see that we have here engine repair crew, and from here resource children we can define all the crew members which are required for this crew. Now we talk about facility. Facility basically represent a building or room that can be scheduled or booked for performing service activity, like conference room or service bay. Please notice that facility must have their starting and ending location set to organization unit address. Means facility is building or room that is part of that organization unit. Equipments. Equipment define the resources. A specific piece of equipment like vehicle, hammer, computer, which also required to perform the service activity. Let's create a new facility. Let's say oil change room. Click on save. Save and close. Go to organization units. Open organization unit. Go to facility and equipments. Add existing facility. Oil change room. Add. Similarly, if you want to add equipments, you can do from here as well, like electric hammer. So this oil change facility and electric hammer equipment is part of this organization unit. As we mentioned that facility and equipment should be part of organization unit. Now we have all 8 type processes ready which we can use in our services, regarding which we will talk soon. Thank you.